Hey culés, El Clásico is coming, and today we're checking out how the English media is reacting ahead of the big match between Barcelona and Real Madrid in La Liga. The takes are hot, the opinions are split, and the whole world is watching. If you're a true Barça fan, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell, and smash that like button. Drop a comment letting us know where you're watching from. I want to see how far our Blaugrana community reaches. Now let's react together and see everything they're saying about our Barça.
So many storylines. So, Nico, what are your top three storylines going into the Clásico?
Definitely. Listen, Arda Güler, that was a really big talking point after last weekend. Goal and assist, an integral part into the functionality and why it actually kind of clicked this past weekend for Real Madrid. We all expect him to start on the right wing for Real Madrid, but he's also a player that comes inside and that combines, and he makes Real Madrid click again, right? He
makes them better.
He's shown that he can be an essential cog to the collective for Real Madrid. So interesting matchup to see there who Hansi Flick goes with to mark this guy, because it's not vertical like Denzel Dumfries. This guy will want to go forward, but then he'll come cut inside, be part of the build-up, and allow Mbappe to be a little bit more free. All right, Barca's mental comeback, the comeback ability. You talked a lot about it. This is where La Liga will either dial up in pressure if you lose, or basically fall in your hands if you win. They can put La Liga to bed, right? Mm-hmm. But if they lose, this is the psychological aspect through the next three games, because then it's at Espanyol, and then the next two games against Villarreal, who's hunting for Europe, and then Athletic Club, who's also in the mix. Man, that's not an easy schedule to finish out the season, and Ballon d'Or sway. It's a very odd year for the Ballon d'Or, because there really hasn't been a dominating force throughout Europe, because someone has either lost a big game here or there. It hasn't been like unanimous across the board. We've gotten so used to Ronaldo winning everything or Messi winning everything that now we kind of had this particular year where we're all really unsure. We all might have our favorite if Raphinha has a masterclass. If Lamine Yamal has a masterclass, this particular game, especially in the recency of everything that everyone's talking about Ballon d'Or now, they could have a say.
So many storylines. It is going to be interesting to see how it all kind of plays out. Let's take a look now at the projected 11 for both of these sides, for Barcelona and for Real Madrid. Charlie, what stands out to you right away when you're looking at these two lineups that we're possibly will be seeing on the pitch this Sunday?
Oh, recency bias plays a big role in this, and for me, it's Lamine Yamal. What we saw him do against Inter Milan, who are arguably one of the best defensive sides in world football, and Fran Garcia, who for me is fragile. Not the best defender, not the best attacking left back, small. This is going to be a mismatch. And so Tchouaméni, Fran Garcia, if this is Ceballos, it's almost defending with three for one player. That's the area of the pitch that naturally you're going to gravitate towards because of how dynamic Lamine Yamal is. But on the flip side, I also want to be conscious of this. Mbappe versus Cubarsí and Martinez. We saw in the first iteration of the Clásico with Mbappe, he was offside 8 times. He could not get into a rhythm. And he had some chances, but every time it felt like it was rushed. The last two, he scored goals against Barcelona. I feel that in this case, and I think you brought up an incredible point, with Arda Güler on the side, this is not a player who's going to be doing this. He's going to come inside, and when Barca play this high line, a ball into Güler, who's left-footed, it makes it easier to play that one-touch ball if the timing is right, which I think he understands now, into space in behind, which gets the most out of
this
Mbappe.
weekend, now I forgot who they played. Alaves, who was it that they beat? That Arda Güler combined inside, and he went whoop, right through. It was a high line, that back line of... now I'm forgetting who they were playing. It was not all the way back. They weren't tucked in. They were actually pretty high into their own pitch, and Arda Güler found that space. And I don't know, after 4 times and seeing the game on Wednesday, maybe as the facilitator, you're thinking, ooh,
gotta be quick.
I mean, post this back line. Because finally, I think there's more questions than ever, right? After an elimination, there are of that Barcelona back line.
I think someone else I'm looking at across the front line for Barcelona is this matchup between Raphinha and Vasquez or Valverde, whoever's going to play in that right back position. Raphinha's balled out against Real Madrid. He has 3 goals, 2 assists. He was the leader when they blew Real Madrid out of the water. I think that matchup is going to be key. He's an emotionally intense guy. I think anytime we see him when he's talking to the press or during the matches, the look in his eyes, after a game from the Champions League going out, I think this is where he galvanizes the team to go at. And I think that right back position is so vulnerable for Madrid.
Also, if they do decide to put Valverde on that right back, what they lose in the midfield when Valverde at right back is massive for this match. I think that Barcelona might like to see him over at right back rather than kind of managing the midfield.
One last Clásico for Modric. Oof. And in the midfield, by the way, I just want the Bellingham-Pedri matchup.
Yeah.
They had a lot of duels in the Copa del Rey final from a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, and that was a big win for Pedri that helped Barcelona a lot of the time.
All right, to keep breaking this all down, let's bring in our CBS Spanish football correspondent, Phil Quintero Molines. Phil, thanks for joining us, my man.
Hola, amigos. Hello.
All right, you've covered this team all year, this Barcelona side. You've seen the mentality that they have. How do you expect them to show up for this match? I know it's a Clásico, and we know how important the match is, but after the defeat against Inter Milan, how do you expect their mentality to be going into this match?
Yeah, I was just listening to everything you guys were saying, and some spot-on analysis from you guys on how you expect them to approach the game. I think there's a few things to pick up on. One is a piece of news from today here in Spain. Barcelona cancelled their media day, which was due to take place today. They were due to talk to the press, the rights holders, the TV and broadcasters. They didn't. They've cancelled it. And that was a decision taken by the club, taken by Hansi Flick and sporting director Deco. All together, they don't want the players speaking to anyone. They don't want anything distracting from this massive, massive game. And I think that's a really interesting move, and it's an unusual move from Barcelona as well. And it just gives us an insight into how they're approaching this game. Maybe they are feeling a little bit fragile, a little bit on the ropes after that desperately disappointing defeat to Inter on Tuesday night. But let me also point out that how are they going to bounce back from this mentally? We've seen this Barcelona side bounce back from disappointments this season. In November, they had a terrible November. Hansi Flick came out and called it, well, he didn't use the word terrible. He used the word that I can't use because it's a family show. But it was a very bad November, and they bounced back from that. They lost to Atletico Madrid at Montjuic in the final second of the game. They absolutely dominated. Everybody said, oh no, what a disaster. They bounced back from that. It's true. Being eliminated from the Champions League in the way that they were is a massive mental blow. But I think this team has the capacity and also this youthful exuberance, the way that they play. And there are some experienced players in there, but there are also a lot of teenagers in this squad. And teenagers, they don't tend to dwell on the past. They're just thinking about the future. So I think they've got the mental ability to approach this game how they have to. Another thing, and it's something you mentioned as well, do they have the legs? Do they have the physical capacity to deal with Real Madrid on Sunday after 120 brutal minutes in Milan?
Phil, last time that these two teams played in the Copa del Rey final, there was a lot of crying from the referees, about the referees, some quite literal crocodile tears. And since, on the flip side, Barcelona, there's been a lot of referee tirades, especially coming from the top down, the managers, the players, that the elimination wasn't their fault, it was the referees. And in Spain, it feels like we talk more about the refereeing than the actual football. How can that come down on Sunday during this match?
Yeah, you're right. A lot gets spoken about the referees. Too much for my liking. The referee on Sunday is Alejandro Hernandez. He's a vastly experienced referee. He is a referee that I think, he's possibly managed to upset both sides as well. Certainly Real Madrid have got a lot of beef with Alejandro Hernandez over the years, perceived injustices at his hands. So
who don't they have beef with?
It's a very short list, the list of referees that they don't have beef with, and there's nobody on it. So yeah, they basically they're not very happy with any of the referees. So I mean, whatever happens, I'm sure somebody somewhere after the game we'll be talking about the referees, but I hope it's not us, because I hope we're talking about a fantastic game, which this really should be.
The next Real Madrid TV video about a ref that they actually don't have any beef with is going to be like, this referee went to go sit down at a tapas place that is specifically from Catalonia, Barcelona tapas, and then we're going to have a whole conspiracy theory of why he likes Barcelona, not Real Madrid.
Phil, I'm very curious now with the announcement of Xabi Alonso departing Bayer Leverkusen. The uncertainty of Ancelotti, it feels like he's leaving at the end of the season, and that's the next guy coming in. Does that alter the players' ambitions and emotions coming into this one? How do you think Ancelotti deals with the noise behind the scenes?
So here's the thing. I was talking to some people here today about this kind of topic. I think that Real Madrid, whatever happens in this game, even if they win the Clásico, even if they win the league, I don't know how satisfied fans will be. Sure, they'll celebrate and they'll be happy, and okay, we beat Barcelona and we won the league, okay. But there are so many question marks about this team that it doesn't get solved by winning the league. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but it's kind of true. You talked about the manager. Carlo Ancelotti isn't going to be there next season. Xabi Alonso is going to take over. How is he going to play? They've got issues to sort out in midfield. They never replaced Toni Kroos. There's been a big gaping hole in midfield all season. Even if they win the league, they still need to sort that out. They need to sort out the defensive line. They need to bring in some players there as well. They need to figure out a way of getting the best out of both Vini Jr. and Kylian Mbappe. So even if they win the Clásico and win the league, and again, I know this sounds ridiculous, it will be a fantastic achievement for them, there will still be a lot of question marks for this Real Madrid team and this Real Madrid squad as well. So yeah, Xabi Alonso, I think it's fair to say, will be here next year. We'll see how he approaches things. We'll see who he brings in. We'll see what formation he plays as well. But there are a lot of question marks about this Real Madrid team going forward in the future.
Phil, last question. Where are you watching the game, and who do you think is going to take it home?
So I'll be watching a game in a bar with probably lots of Real Madrid fans, because it'll be in the centre of Madrid, but there might be some Atletico Madrid fans in there as well, cheering for Barcelona. And I think it's going to be 2-2. There we go. It should be goals. It should be entertaining, but I think...
It's a big weekend ahead, because it is Barcelona setting the scene for the Clásico this weekend on Sunday. It's the fourth and final Clásico of the season between Barcelona and Real Madrid. Just 4 points between the two sides heading into it. And guess who is there for us in Barcelona? Dan Thomas and Craig Burley. Dan, how's he been as a travel companion?
I haven't seen much of him, so it's been perfect, to be honest.
Well,
I think it's an ideal world.
Well, things were going all right. I had to listen to about 15 minutes of the Europa League.
Hey, it's a big final. This Clásico really is a poor man's Europa League final.
Frank must have shares in the Europa League, saying it's as good as the Premier League. I mean, how can United and Tottenham be in the final, for God's sake? But there we go.
Right, come on, we haven't got long to do this. I need to go and warm up. Barcelona against Real Madrid, of course, so many talking points going into it. I suppose the main one, Craig, Barcelona knocked out, obviously, the Champions League. Not happy about it. They're kind of taking a leaf out of Real Madrid's book and being a bit crybaby-ish.
In what sense?
In the fact you've got them complaining about referees. Pedri came out and said there needs to be an investigation. The Barcelona board...
Is there something in the water in Spain? Because, to me, most of the big decisions, the referee either got correct on the field, or they went to the VAR, the technology, and particularly with the Cuba-C challenge on Lautaro Martinez, for all the will in the world, it looked like a penalty. It did to the naked eye. And back in the day, it would have been. But it would have been a mistake. And when that defining angle cleared it up, and you saw... And listen, it was a good attempt at a challenge, but he came through Martinez's boot before he's played the ball. So it's a crystal clear penalty. So you can have no complaints if you're a Barca player. You can have no complaints if you are Hansi Flick. Now, I did think on the Acerbi goal, we never really got a definitive angle of the Gerard Martin, the stretching challenge. They wanted a foul. I haven't seen anything definitive. But at the end of the day, they had this game in the palm of their hands with minutes and seconds to go, and they were blasé and still rushing forward and doing all these kamikaze stuff, defending stuff that they did, and they got caught out for it.
How does the manner of the defeat affect Sunday, if at all?
Well, Hansi Flick, as we've discussed, seems to be a very good man manager in terms of picking players up. That's what he has to do. They have a league title to fight for. They have Real Madrid with a week's rest. So there's no excuses in that term and that sort of sense from them. Yeah, they've got their own problems defensively in particular, but they've had a week's rest. So there should be no need for Carlo Ancelotti to be on the sidelines giving Vinicius Jr. a kick up the backside saying, are you going to run? Kylian Mbappe, are you going to run? So he shouldn't have that issue. If he does, that's the big problem. From Barca's perspective, somehow they've got to brush themselves down with that disappointment and go out there and do what they probably are going to do, and is outplay Real Madrid and probably cut them apart, because how is this Real Madrid defence going to cope with this Barca front line that really, you know, scored 6 goals in a game that had, 13 goals, that semi-final? It was incredible. They didn't go out because of their goal scoring, they went out because of their defence. And can you really see Real Madrid stopping the Lamine Yamals and Raphinhas? I can't.
But the impetus is on Real Madrid. They have to win this game, don't they, to keep any hopes of winning La Liga alive?
The fact they're still in with a shout is amazing. They have been so poor in terms of the bulk of their performances. The manager has struggled to find the right recipe and balance, but somehow a win is going to take them 1 point behind with 3 games to go off the back of this. We're now in anything can happen territory when that happens. So that's all they can hold on to. They go out there, hopefully they're bigger players, the Vinicius, Mbappe, the Bellinghams, the Valverdes, all these guys somehow perform, have the match of their lives, and they're back in it, potentially. I think it's a difficult one to sell, though, bearing in mind what you and I and everybody else have seen from this Real Madrid side almost every week. Either every Saturday or every Sunday we say, it's going to be better this week, it's going to be better this week, and generally it has not.
Of course, we're here for the next few days. Steve McManaman's joining us, Ian Dark, Luis Garcia, Mario Suarez. All will be here to look ahead to our Clásico. Tomorrow, Kay, myself and Craig are cooking paella. What a treat for everyone who gets to taste that.
Oh, can't wait for that.
Hey guys, we're about to witness another El Clásico in La Liga, and even though we were eliminated from the Champions League, I believe Barcelona has what it takes to beat Real Madrid. With Hansi Flick as our coach, the team is much more organized, and with Pedri back and Raphinha performing at a high level, the squad's confidence is through the roof. Raphinha in particular has been a standout this season, which only strengthens our lineup. On the other hand, Real Madrid is having a rough time. They're not playing well, and with rumors that Carlo Ancelotti could be leaving, instability seems to be a real issue for the Madrid squad. If Barcelona manages to win this game, it could very well be the title-deciding match for the season, as we're currently leading La Liga, and a victory now could solidify our position. Barcelona has always been capable of destroying Real Madrid, no matter the circumstances, and I believe once again our collective strength and Hansi Flick's work will make the difference. This win is crucial, not just for the title, but to prove that Barcelona remains a very strong team, always striving for supremacy in Spanish football. We're ready for another big win.